another beautiful, beautiful sunny day. I really hope winter is here. Autumn, winter is here, This is my kind of weather. Crisp and clear. Beautiful blue sky, not too cold. Saturday morning in Asakusa. Asakusa, as the tourists call it. Good morning, good morning, good morning. The Ninja Boys will be up and running today, I think. They'll be looking forward to a good time. Last weekend it was a bit rainy, but this one is going to be a nice weekend. So they will be out there in full force. Probably by the end of our stream, we'll see them gathering there in the morning. I don't think we have much of a hover today. We will, maybe later on when the sun's gone around the corner a little bit, we can get a good floater, but at the moment the shadows of the tree are in the way. Delivery truck, don't know what he's in for, not a regular, don't know. Okay, it's going to be carving today, of course. We're still at the small prints. Before that, though, I've got something to show you. Something to show. That's my late breakfast mango after the stream. More coming through. This is not, you've seen these before. Nothing special. Kawai-san, Mr. K, Kawai-san, he's over there. He's just doing batch after batch after batch. He sent these in, they arrived yesterday, and he phoned me and said, "What do you think, Dave?" And I said, "Just some more." I said, "Well, I have good news and bad news." The good news is our business is healthy. The bad news is get back to work. So he's just chewing away. He's just making cranes one after the other. He's our crane man this year. This is the latest batch. And these are gone. They're all gone. Ome is waiting for them to send them out. They're gone, they're gone, they're gone. We have too many people with K here. You're laughing about this, but it is a thing. It's a problem here. Not only K, we have two with the same name. This is Mr. K Kawai Atsushi, in Western style, Atsushi Kawai. He, used to work the print parties for us. Now he's a printer, doing well. Then we have Kawasaki-san, Noriko Kawasaki. She lives in Kobe, K. She's one of our carvers. Then we have Kubota-san. You've seen me do the embossing on the Great Waves from Kubota-san. And then we have the lady who used to be Chiharu Kanai, and she got divorced and went back to her other name, which was Kawai, the same name as Mr. K. So, whatever. I guess in Japanese, just as in with any language, some letters are more common than others to start words. In English we have an imbalance. There's very few words start with X and a lot of words that start with T or whatever, Anyway, what I have to show you is this. Sit down. Fasten your seatbelts. Fasten your seatbelts. I've opened this already. I saw this yesterday, of course. Mitamoto-san. You've seen Mitamoto-san. He's one of the Kumiai printers. Hasn't been doing work for us, but who asked a while ago to do some work for us. I was not so excited about the idea because most of the older men here who have been printing for many, many years, they're not so interested in working with our style, with our way of doing things. He was, I guess, hungry or whatever, and he said, "No, please let me try." And I'm like, really, I don't know my experience. You can't insult the guy by saying, "I don't think you can do the work for us," whatever. Anyway, we did. We gave him the blocks. This is the blocks for the Fujisawa print. You saw the old blocks. I carved the rain block for that one. It's this print. I've got a link to it somewhere here. It's this one. Do you remember? This is the image from the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. Anyway, he's done. He's done his first batch of 60 copies. And he has come through. Now, there's a very big difference, one big difference between this one and the museum copy. And the museum copy is 100 years old, and ours is not. So ours is on white paper rather than, aged toned paper. But he has done a nice job. And he said he struggled with part of this. We did the rain block, but he said there's lots of registration issues, He came to me partway along, "Dave, what do you think? Shall we do this? Shall we fix this? Shall we recut this?" And I looked at it with him, and I thought, I think we'll leave this. Places like this, if you see down here, there's a bit of tree that pops over into the rain. And here, a little bit of the brown, the background. And I thought, how much do we fix and fiddle with here? How much do we leave here? Overall, these match up very well. There's a few places where you get stuff like this. You get a little tiny gap, because after 100 years of these blocks, they just really don't behave all that well. But I'm thinking we are okay with this. He and I looked at it partway along. And he's done a very, very, very nice job. Do you remember partway along, we saw in one of the streams actually, he came here during one of the streams, and he showed me he was having trouble. He had a modeled area. This is one of his, he's got some corner cuts here. He had a modeled area in the back, and he was like, what do we do? Is it the block, and what are the problems with it, and something like this. And we talked about it. People on stream was talking. We thought the paper, he was using the paper was a bit too wet, you know, and he chatted about it, and this and that, and this and that. And he came through. There's totally no problem. It's not 1,000% perfect, but my God, considering blocks, 100-year-old blocks, I am very, very happy with this. Very, very happy with this. It's too bad about the overall appearance. It's white, it's new, nothing I can do about that. You know, the idea is there should be artificially age our prints as we make them so that they end up looking like this, you know, the day we sell them. And no, because then 50 years later they become rotten and old, you know. Someone's asking, is that a reflecting pond? No, what you're seeing is a staircase. This is a hill. This is a temple building built at the top of a hill. And there's the gate, well, a shrine building, I'm sorry. The gate to the shrine, through the town, there's another gate, and then it goes up the staircase to the shrine / temple at the top of the hill. So no, that's not water. This is a staircase. So there it is. There it is. I know he now said, well, if it's okay, can I do some more? You know. So of course, this weekend, today or tomorrow, I'll be doing some sizing. I'll prepare some paper for him, and I won't give him another one of these old blocks. That's not fair, because it really was a struggle to do this. So I'm going to give him some of our new blocks, something that's run down, out of stock, whatever. And we're happy to have. We now have another printer on board. You know, he is ready to do much more work, and if he can keep up this level, I am very happy to have him around. You know. There's not a wonderful future with him because, like, he's almost my age, but whatever. For as long as he can, handle it, he's welcome to keep working with us. You know, so. So good news, good news. It's in the catalog already, and I think Cameron opened it up last night. I forget the number. If you go to our website, mokuhankan.com/catalog/ something or other. The print is in there already. As soon as we got that in yesterday, we opened it up, ready to go. Oh, somebody's found it. Good. Lost for words. Eggs, eggs, eggs. Thank you, sir. And Tom's asking, paper out. Paper is out. 3 packs are out today. We had 4 printers here yesterday. We have 3 today. Ayumi-san is doing, she's doing a small version of the chrysanthemums print. Dei-chan is still working on November's print for this year's series, and Suga-san is just finishing off the Evening Rain, the Neko 8 Views of Cats series, Evening Rain. Oh, Suka, I sharpen. And we actually have news on 8 Views of Cats. All of those of you who thought I have long abandoned and forgotten that project, 2 of the prints, the Evening Bell and the Descending Geese, moved forward into another step of production yesterday. Because I got Cameron's software sort of finished, I can now get back to doing some real work, normal work, and 2 of the cat prints, we took another step forward. It's like that game where someone's against the wall, they keep looking back, and while they're not looking, you sneak up behind them. And 2 of the cat prints moved ahead last night. So sometime within the next couple of months, you will see more issues on there. The two we've done evening snow and night rain, and now this is evening bell and descending geese. I can't see. So once I get forward a bit farther with those and we have more to show, like over the next couple of months, I will be doing another video on the cat series. We'll be updating the webpage, and we'll try and kick it back into life. But we have a bad tip. It's totally broken, and yesterday. I was fooling around doing something I shouldn't have been doing, but I think we're okay. I broke the tip yesterday, not doing my normal work, and one of the printers from upstairs, she brought down one of the blocks. It's this year's series, the November print from this year's series. They're partway through, and she brought down one of the blocks, and it needed some adjustment. We had done some test printing, it seemed okay, but once she was into the edition itself, she realized some parts needed some trimming. So I was in a hurry. I just sat down quickly. Yeah, give me the block. Show me what you want. Okay, yeah, it's okay. Look, yeah. There was phone calls. There was crap going on. Everything was going on. So I grabbed my knife and and bang, of course, I broke the tip, It's actually funny. It was Ishikawa-san who was here, and it had nothing to do with her. It's not her fault that the tip broke. And she brought the piece of wood down for the adjustment, And while I'm sitting here at the bench, I was trying to do something else. There's a guy here trying to set up TV for next week. Anyway, whatever. Stuff was going on all at the same time. And he and her were joking about this. It was last week's Instagram post. The reason he is here is because he saw the Instagram which referenced that Toyo Keizai story and blah, 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 blah. And they were laughing about that. The fact that in the Insta, we talked about this the other day, that, people thought it was Dave's End and stuff like this. But somebody commented on that Insta post. They said something like, the legend, in reference to me, wow, he's the legend, or whatever. So Ishikawa-san wouldn't let go of this yesterday. I'm sitting here hacking away at this piece of wood, whatever, and I break the tip. And she says, oh, legend, eh? I'm like, I didn't say that. It wasn't my idea, whatever. So... Saru mo ki kara ochiru. Kana? Is that what they say? It's funny about these ladies here, when they first come and when you're first dealing with these people, they are extremely polite and extremely, do everything by the rules and stuff like that. And because I'm older and because I'm the president or whatever, nobody will speak back to you and stuff like this, But as time goes by and people get more familiar and they recognize that I'm not Japanese and I'm okay with this, then they flip the other way. They will happily insult me or kick me when I'm turned around or whatever, So, and she's gone now even the next step farther. She could giggling. She insulted me yesterday when somebody else was here, and that's a whole new level. In Japan, that's sort of actually impossible. And it's a measure of how comfortable that she feels now, that she knows Dave's okay with this, that she can not only say something against me, she can not only insult me, she can do this when somebody else is in the room. So, She said, legend, eh? Whatever, what's it for? What's it for if not to laugh? Okay, let's get this up and running here. Oops, I still cannot remember which way that switch works. After all these years of streaming, I cannot remember the zoom on this camera. It's because I'm upside down and backwards. If I was holding the camera, it would be okay, but I'm reaching out upside down, and I can never, ever, ever remember which way that zoom goes. I think we're okay. All right, are we good to go? Straight line knife. No, the straight line knife is in Ome. I'm going out to Ome on Tuesday, and it's confirmed. Next Tuesday is haircut day. It's all confirmed. Actually, there's a backstory to that. So the straight line knife, it'll be appearing next week or 2 weeks from now. I don't have it today. I can't label the zoom. I can't see it. We're talking about the camera up there. The zoom control is at the back of the camera up there. So labeling it, I'm sure it's labeled already, but I can't see it. So. No, the haircut story, you know, it's funny. I finally, this was yesterday or the day before, I finally called the lady or got in touch with the lady out there. And she said, yeah, I've been waiting for you. And I'm like, what do you mean waiting for me? She said, yeah, I put the message in your mailbox there, and I forget what she said. She's like, back at the beginning of October. I told you I was opening up at the beginning of October, and I put a message in your mailbox over there saying we're up and running and ready to go. I'm like, well, actually, I didn't see this. And she says, well, I did this, you know, I've been waiting for you. So the Ome staff, I was chatting with them later, and I said, by the way, Abe-san down at the, you know, the Lahaina, she said she put something in the mailbox. And the lady there said, I never saw that. I said, well, I guess something's gone wrong, you know, whatever. She said that she put it in the mailbox. So she calls me back later on in the afternoon and says, I looked in the mailbox, and yeah, there was a slip of paper in the bottom of the post box. Like they reach in and take out the mail, and there was a little slip of paper in the bottom. Abe-san must have put a little slip of paper in saying, David, we're ready for a haircut. And nobody saw this. And this was weeks ago. So we've gone through the last 2 weeks of this unnecessarily. Anyway, she's happy. She said, come on out. When are you coming? I'm out there next Tuesday. And finally, we're going to get rid of this shag. And she was, you know, I was telling her, you know, I left it going. She says, what? You mean you haven't been to get a haircut since, like, we did this last time? I said, well, no, I know that's how you feel. And she said, oh, come on, I was in hospital, I couldn't. So she's chewing me out. But actually, she's, you know, I think she's happy inside that Dave didn't go somewhere else. So we'll see. So yeah, so next Tuesday is the big day. Place like this here, eh? There's a decision to make here. You see this? I don't know how closely you can see. I don't know if it's visible or not. I'm sorry. There's a shape here, whatever. It's got a thing that comes down and a longer thing, and there's a sort of an area that has to be taken out. And the end of this zone, there's a decision to make. Do I make the end of this zone sharp? Do I cut an actual shallow V here? What I was seeing, be careful not to break my knife here. Maybe let me draw this because it's too small to see. Let me I don't know, grab a piece of paper here or something. Where are we? Grab a piece of paper. It's the shape is like this. There's a long piece coming down, and there's a shorter piece. And we've got this in-between thing. I'm exaggerating it here. The in-between thing is sort of round. And yet it looks like a brush stroke down and down. So I'm thinking this probably could have been carved actually originally. It was sharp. The line looked like this. But when they printed this thing, a little bit of pigment got stuck in that corner and it ended up being round. And if I carve this round, then our printers are going to come along. A bit more pigment will get in it, and that will get even more like this. So what I'm going to do, and this is not just right now, but every single time we do this, I've got to see that curve and think, to make that curve, I have to cut back a little bit sharper, so that when the printers come and pigment inevitably slightly fills up that corner, it looks natural. So the point to make is, when we're carving this kind of stuff, we don't just carve what we see. We carve a block that will print what we see, if you get what I'm getting at. So stuff like this, tight corners, you always cut back a little more than what you see on the actual wood surface here. And at this scale as well, this really makes a difference. If it's a giant picture, the difference you're cutting in that corner is not going to be visible. But on a thing this small, every one of these corners, here's a bunch more, look at these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Every one of these, I can't just cut what I see there. That's the theory. Try and cut a block that will print what you see. In the beginning, I had no clue about this at all. No clue. And I'd like cut the patterns on those kimono for the 100 Poets series when I was doing that. And then look at the finished print and think, why doesn't it look like the original? You know, what's wrong? The wood is hard. I did a sharp knife. I'm okay. But I didn't really get the idea cleanly. That the block doesn't look like the finished print. The block is different from the finished print. I don't know, for the modern people, modern artists and stuff, it doesn't matter. They're cutting a block, and then what comes out, by definition, is what they want. It's okay. But when there's a specific pattern there, you're doing a reproduction. It's already been created. Your job is to make it look like that. I'm not in any way doing art here. I am a technician here. And it's the technician's job to try and make this technology happen, to make this end result happen. You know. But the people who are artists cutting blocks, they have no such, you know, they don't care about this stuff. You know. Are we okay? Are we up here? It looks all right. So someone's talking about typefaces and stuff. So this is not just, you know, Japanese woodblock printmaking. This is anything to do with putting ink on surfaces, or maybe making circuit boards at nanometer scale. So I've got no idea. The same thing probably happens. How do you handle the corners down there? I'm sure for people working with you know actual ink and presses and you know Heidelberg machines and stuff like that, I guess this is a thing for them too. Ink is going to fill in that corner, so you've either got to make your master copy, you know, it's the same thing. You make technology that will print what you want. The same thing. Yeah. There's another aspect to that too, though. The thing I'm doing right now here, I'm making a reproduction of a woodblock print. In other words, this process that I'm doing right now has already been done with this thing. And what I mean is, if you go back one step, this print was originally made back in the 1920s or so, 1930s, I'm not sure exactly. But the carver who carved it the first time didn't have a woodblock print as a master copy. He had a drawing as a master copy. Somebody, an artist or a designer in the studio there, whatever, had actually drawn this with a brush. They pasted it on the block, and the carver's job was to translate the brushstrokes into a woodblock print. So the thing he saw on his wood when he was carving 90 years ago when this was being done, what he saw was not the same thing that I'm seeing. What he saw was brushstrokes. And he adapted, edited, moved, cut those brushstrokes in a way that the same thing would happen, that a woodblock print would come out that looked something like the brushstrokes. But what I'm seeing is something completely different. So cutting a reproduction and cutting an original are two different animals, very much two different stories. And it's going to be here, right up here on this one, where Jed's design is coming on this same block. This is going to be brushwork. Jed is working on it right now. I spoke to him by Skype a day before yesterday. He's got his brush out and he is going to draw these things for us. Not at this scale, because there's no way he can work with a brush at this scale and have it make any sense. So he's going to work at a 2x. We decided how far to go. If he works at 10x or something, by the time you shrink it down, the lines will be way too delicate. So he's going to work at 2x for this first set. Then send the result to me, scan it and send it to me, and I will size it to the proper dimensions and paste it down. So this is going to be really interesting to compare. Once I'm carving up here, it's going to be brush strokes. And maybe we'll try and find lots of places where we can point out the difference. The carver has to do different things. So this is going to be really instructive. Where to go, where to go, where to go? There's bamboo leaves. We just had bamboo leaves. There's pine needles. There's waves. There's rocks. I got all kinds of choice here. Let's do some waves. I don't want to touch the border yet, though, because like I said, I don't have my knife. Let's do some waves. Can't see all the conversation here and there. Someone's talking about Dave has a steady hand. Remember, my hands here are resting. My hands are resting on the block. Both of my hands, left and right, are resting on the block. And I pull the knife through this. So I'm not holding my hands up in the air here. I might have steady hands anyway. That's okay. But what you're seeing here is not, free hand up in the air. My hands are resting on the wood surface here. So there's nothing, there's nothing wildly freehand here. So it's Saturday morning here. There was news and stuff I was supposed to relate. There's a little bit, obvious. Last night we had a little bit of a get-together here at Mokuhankan. Not all the staff gathered, but all the staff who is within Tokyo. The Ome staff didn't come in; it was too far for them. But all the staff who are normally living in and around Tokyo here came together because Cameron is leaving next week. He's actually flying away next week, and so he came in today to see the printers and chat with everybody. And we had a little tiny bit of a get together. It's still sort of semi-lockdown and virus, and we're really not comfortable with all getting together and having a party and drinking and everything else. But we had a bit of it yesterday. We opened the doors and windows at both ends and sat a little bit separated from each other and had a small get together. I mean, Cameron's not leaving the company, but he is leaving Japan, and many of these people, we may or may not ever see them again. I don't know. So we did that last night, and I hadn't thought about it, but a couple of the ladies who are printers, they are a bit more hip with this sort of thing than I was, and they prepared a little gift for him. I hadn't actually thought about that. In my mind, Cameron is not like leaving. It's just whatever. He and I always just work by Skype anyway. So next week he's going to be in Washington or Virginia. It's no difference. So I hadn't really thought about this kind of thing. But because the ladies won't be seeing him again, in any kind of nearby while, they prepared a small present for him. But I was clueless on that part of it. So. Well, is Cameron here this morning? Has he dropped in? It's Saturday morning, so he doesn't usually drop in on Saturdays, but I don't think he'll be here. I don't know. He's still thinking Saturday, Sunday is a weekend, so of course, so. Fly fishing on saw some of that legendary sake stashed under his desk. We do have a bottle or two stashed under the desk where I am sitting right now. But Cameron is not the guy for that. Cameron doesn't touch alcohol or coffee, stuff like this. So it wouldn't have done any sense for Cameron, so. The rest of us had a little bit of a beer or whatever was handed. We prepared some drinks on the table there, but Cameron doesn't drink, so. Dave is asking what the lawyers have to do with the Beach Boys, and I really don't want to talk too much about that. I know, whatever. Was I teasing or not? I don't know. I know nothing else to say really, except that the thing that we were talking about is actually moving ahead. It's now waiting for me to do the next step in this. I know there is a group of people we are dealing with. I made a proposal. They thought about it, the lawyer and whatever, and they have come back with basically a go-ahead. We have the go-ahead to try something and to do something, and it's now waiting on me to organize this into an actual physical project that this workshop will attempt to make. So the whole lawyer thing was a question of permissions, really. And the permissions have come through, and in a way more than I ever would have expected. We basically have what's the French expression? I can't speak French. Carte blanche. We are okay to go, and Dave now just has to marshal the resources for a very, very, very interesting, spectacular project. So. And that's enough information, I think. A couple of people out there do know now what's going on. I've had email exchanges with a couple of you, people who are probably listening to this today. And there are people who have put two and two together to some extent and got this. So. And the reason I'm being coy is because, whatever, I don't want anybody else to grab this. We have this thing now in reach. And I'm in the same situation as I was a few years ago with the tools. I had something within reach. I didn't grab it. Somebody else did grab it. So that's why I'm being a little bit quiet with this one, whatever. I know I'm not really a Bee Gees fan, but it's okay, whatever. So it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Tell you what, I'm in danger here. I'm carving these lines, but if I bump into that edge, this is later where we're going to be carving the straight line here. So I'm going to just sneak ahead here for a minute, just cut a bit of this edge. This is not my straight line knife, but it doesn't matter. I can cut a tiny bit of this right now just for safety, so that I don't pop it with these lines I'm cutting here, you know. I don't know how a real carver would do this. Would he cut the boxes first? I don't know. When I was chatting years and years ago with Ito-san about this, you know, the famous Remembering a Carver video, in one of those sessions with Ito-san, one of the questions I did have for him, and again, it's a question, you know, I asked the question, and it was one of those things where he looks up at me thinking, you know, like, who would think this guy? Why do you need to ask something like that? He was friendly, but, you know, in his eyes you can just see, it wasn't an eye roll, but there was a thought of an eye roll in there, you know, after I asked this question. And I had asked him something I thought was pretty innocuous. When you sit down to a new, fresh block, you know, here you go, let's start carving. Where do you start, or what kind of factors come into play when you're trying to decide where to start? And like I said, he didn't eye roll, but that was the mood in the air, you know, like he really never thought about it himself. He would never think to ask anybody. But there it was. He obviously does have some kind of a policy, whether it's conscious or not. He obviously has to put the knife in somewhere. Where do you stick the knife in? You know, I don't know. So, and I don't remember the exact words he said, but I remember just basically it was just like whatever, you know, somewhere in the middle. And it was, I guess, in the TV blocks I had seen, he would, I guess, basically start in the middle of something and then work out to the outside. And I think the reason I had asked that, because I myself had a very specific policy by then. I'd been carving by then, you know, 10 years or so or more. And by then I myself had a very specific policy on where I started carving. And yet it was one that had no meaning for him whatsoever. What I did was I started carving on something, what's the word? Out of sight, something not important in the image, something that people wouldn't notice or wouldn't see. That's sort of, in a woodblock print, there is nothing like that, because when you see the finished print, you can see everything there. But obviously, in any given print, there are things that are more eye-catching. If there's a face, you're going to see the face, rather than some little kimono pattern down at the side or something. And the reason I did it, and I don't remember if I actually explained this to him, it might have been a bit embarrassing to do, so I don't remember. The reason I did that was because when I was working back then, I was working both as a carver and a printer. So whatever, Dave sits down, gets the thing ready like we see here, pastes it on the wood, and gets started carving. But what has happened is Dave has just spent the last 2 weeks or so as a printer, doing the printing work on the previous job that he carved. Remember, I was working solo craftsman, both carving and printing. So every time I sat down to start carving, I was carving after a 2-week, minimum 2-week break of having been a printer, using different tools, different muscles, different setup, different bench, different everything. So I had not just a 2-week break from carving, I had been using my hands in a completely different way. So for me to sit down as a carver, it's like, it's not relearning from zero, but it's, you know, you've lost the edge. It's like the famous pianist sitting down. He hasn't done any practicing for 2 weeks. He doesn't try and do a recital, you know. So I would start at some corner of the block, which was, to me, not so visually important. Then over the next few days, I pick up the skill again, bit by bit. You feel more comfortable with it, and by the time you get to the face, or whatever was important, you're good to go. And then, of course, finish the block, put the carving tools away, and start the whole thing again with the printing tools. How do I hold this thing, you know? Now for Ito-san, none of that made any difference because he just simply, every day, he sat down at the same bench, at the same angle, in the same way, in the same light, picked up the same tools, and he had been doing this for 60 plus years. So he didn't need to warm up or get anything going like that. So he just sat down, stuck his knife in the wood, and got going, And I guess that's why he's thinking, why is Dave asking me this? To me, there was a question, but for him, there was no question. We hear a cat sound. Somebody maybe has signed up for the 8 views of cats. It's still, the web page is still open. I need to update it to tell people which 4 images we have not decided yet. So 4 of the images are decided and 4 of them are still open. These prints are not going to be embossed with credits. They are too small. They're going to go in small packages. They're not going to have any carver or artists or printer credits at all. The packaging we send them in may have. I don't know. We haven't decided yet on how to actually present and package these things. Lots of details still open, but on a print this small, there is no way we are going to emboss craftsmen's names into them. So any information like that will be carried with the packaging. And the people who are making these things, me included, we in no way expect that kind of recognition for a project like this. There's no way. I mean, even with our postcard size prints, we don't put printers' names on. It's just not possible without being more disruptive than any benefit. Every time the wood pops, it sounds like a blade breaking. Click, pop, crack. So much conversation, blah, 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 blah. I can't see this, I can't see it all. I can't see it. I have been recently, at lunchtime, I have been reading through all these chats, and so I do see, not every time, but I do see most of it actually. The other day too, I was sitting here behind the counter at lunchtime nibbling. I went to Skiroku and got a sandwich, and Watanabe-san was here. And we're following the rules, I sat here eating my sandwich at this end, and she's way at the other end of the room, back in the old party room. She's having her lunch, because it's masks off, and we're doing the right thing. We're trying to follow the rules here, So I'm with my mask off, nibbling on my sandwich, reading through the chat, and she's at the other end of the room, whatever, scrolling on her phone, doing something, And I must have come across something that was funny or whatever, something I hadn't seen during the chat itself, I'm laughing, and she looks up like, what's funny? And I'm like, I can't really explain, so. She sometimes sits in. So Watanabe-san may be watching this. It's Saturday, so probably not, but she does sometimes watch, sit in. But yeah, I do try and read through it and see what's going on. It's a little bit difficult when I read just the chat, the record of the chat, because there's no video with it. I'm just reading through the chat, trying to remember. And people will be commenting on something, and like, what did I say? I don't even remember. So it's sort of like half of the conversation is visible. And then almost always what happens is I see something there, a question that I should have answered, but that I hadn't noticed the question going by. It can happen any given minute here. Questions go by that I don't see. And there was one the other day. Was it the last stream? Somebody asked a question. I clearly missed it. So she, this person asked again. A few minutes later, I must have missed it still. And I think it was 3 or 4 times the same question came up. And I hadn't seen it in the back and forth. And their frustration was clear. Dave isn't seeing me. Like, look at me. And I can't help it. I really don't help. Just keep repeating it, or ask people to help you. And, Do I have favorite people in the chat? Well, if you're a troublemaker, I don't know. The thing about the chat is, some of you I know in real life, most of you I don't know in real life, and there's lots of people here who have a chat handle, and I have no idea who this is, but I may actually know this person, but I don't really know who this is, and their email name in the order box. And putting all those things together is difficult, I'm sorry. There are people who have bought prints from us, lots, but I wouldn't even know who you are, because your real name on the order form and your chat handle here are different. It's a real mix. Some people I do know, some people I haven't a clue, some people I should know, but I'm clueless, and some are just, people I just have never met. I don't know. I don't think anybody's too worried about it, and I'm not really too worried about it, There's a limit to what I can do and understand, and there's stuff that just is going to fly by. So if you are a long-time, lifetime best friend of mine, and I still don't recognize who you are in the chat, whatever, I'm sorry, that's life, There was a similar thing that used to happen in the shop that was a little bit related to that situation, but that was more difficult. We had the shop here from 2014 to 2019, 5 years, And there are people who come to Japan like almost every year or every couple of years. People from whatever, America, Australia, or whatever, they come here. So we'd have this experience of we're in the shop here, and somebody comes in the door, and I've never met them, and they say, "Hey, Dave, I'm such and such. I've been buying prints from you." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, hey, thank you very much. Nice to meet you finally." And we'd have our little chat for a few minutes, and the person then, then leaves. Maybe they do a print party or not, or whatever. Anyway, they leave. So I've met this person now. And the thing then, what happens is roll the camera ahead, maybe 2 years or something, and this person is on their next visit to Japan. And you know where the story's going. He comes in Mokuhankan, and he now knows that we have met. This person knows me, he's met me, he's seen my videos, he's physically met me. And I met him once, 2 years ago, for 5 minutes, in the middle of a lot of other stuff, And, like I say, you know where the story's going. I don't remember this person at all. And sometimes their face is a bit disappointed, and sometimes they're like, of course they understand that Dave was busy and he didn't really engage with me too much. And that's sort of okay. But what happens is, this goes on, and the person is here for the fourth or fifth time. And by now I realize, okay, wait, this is a face. I have met this person, and my face goes blank, and he can see my wheels turning, and he may be polite and wait a minute, or he may be jog me, Dave, it's such and such a person. And, oh yeah, I remember, I'm sorry not to remember you. And there are all variations of this. There are people who something happened in the previous meeting that managed to lodge in my mind that I can remember, or they were troublesome and I can remember. Whatever, there's all levels to this. Whatever, I'm not apologizing. People do understand the situation. But there are people I know who are a little bit disappointed that they've met me 3 times already and engaged in all kinds of emails, but I still didn't connect the face when they came in the door, And you read about politicians who can do this with their constituents. They remember everybody's face and name. Oh, how's your kid? It's John, isn't it? He's in 2nd year of high school. And they're like, and I can't do that level of this, Absolutely, I can't do that. But I have the feeling that I should, of course. Some of these people are what's the level? There's customers, acquaintances, collectors, friends. It's all a continuum. People might start as a customer ordering something, and then 10 years later, here we are. I've met them a dozen times. They're their friends. So for the last year, my life has been a little bit easier in this sense, is that I haven't been faced with this thing every day. Every time the door opens here and people walk in, Dave's memory box jumps into action. Do I know this person? Am I supposed to look happy? Oh, how are you doing? Haven't seen you for ages. That stress has been gone from my life now for a year and a half. Politicians and salesmen too. I guess salesmen do it. They got a book before they go into the place where they're making the sales call. They look up their history. Oh yeah, the guy's name is John. His wife is Martha. Yeah. So he then goes in the door. John, how you doing? Hey, how's Martha? And all that kind of stuff. Because he's looked it up 2 minutes before. Phony as you get. We used to do that at the music store. God, sorry about that. Tip, do something memorable when you meet Dave, like throw up on the floor or something so I can remember you next time. Somebody said this, vomiting on the floor. Please, let's shut this one down. Shut this one down right now. Customer resource management, is that the term for it? We used to do that. My God, we had 3-ring binders. We used to sit the salesman down, go through the stuff. What did you learn about such and such? Put notes in the binder. The next salesman goes back. He looks in the binder before he opens. He goes to the school, the band teacher, We didn't grotesquely fake it. A person that had never gone in there. How's your wife, Martha? Because then it would sound totally fake. So the salesman we tried to make it so that read the thing, internalize some material, but don't fake this. Don't pretend what's going on, because you're going to screw up, So don't do this. The customers will see through it anyway. But if we didn't do this, if all the salesmen just go in blank-faced, it's no good. You need some touch with those customers. So we did this. We had the 3-ring binders, I don't do that now. My God, I don't do that now. Of course I don't do that now. But back when I was the manager of a sales team, we did this, Someone's asking about the microscope and the camera. I actually have this. This is a binocular microscope. All we're seeing is here. And I don't want to take one of my eyes away for a camera, although that's an idea. That might be happening 5 years from now. We're going to be using the right-hand side with a camera. But I have a trinocular microscope upstairs. One came up on Yahoo Auctions a while back, and I bought it. It's the same basic microscope as I've got here. It's an EMZ8, it's not an EMZ5. And it has the camera attachment. And I bought it thinking, that's it, starting with next week's stream, you are going to see exactly the same thing I see. Didn't happen. I've been struggling with trying to get a camera to work. I bought a camera, we fixed it up, we attached it. I could not get it to give me more than like 2 or 3 frames per second of video. It was a light issue. And this is something, it's waiting for me to get some time and put it aside. And I think I chatted with John Becker about this one day. He's into cameras and lenses. And next time he's here, I think he and I are we had a date. We're gonna play with this. Bring it out from upstairs, put the camera and try and arrange some lighting that doesn't blind me, but that provides enough light to do this. So yeah, coming sometime to a stream near you, integrated view from the microscope. And I would still keep this camera because it wouldn't be interesting all day long just to see my fingernail and the tip of the knife. It's also useful to see the surroundings. You want me to back off the zoom? Okay, or is it, again, is the camera, it's quite possible, you know, it's just the camera's banging the bench. It's quite possible. Yeah, so we have a depth of field problem and we have an angle problem because the camera, it's about a 45-degree angle and I can't really get it much higher because it gets in the way of the scope and stuff. So no problem, no bother. I need feedback. If things are going wrong, feedback. Yeah, we would do both. If I did get that trinocular thing, we'll do both. We'll just flick back and forth now and then. There is, though, another aspect to that. The trinocular scope that I have is a Meiji 8, and it's got completely different focusing and depths and stuff. And because of the way it works, at the moment we're in, you know, we talked about this the other day, the distance here, the distance between the wood and the lens is what it is, and it's very comfortable for me to sit here. It's perfect. When we switch to an EMZ8, we can't do this. The scope has to be about 10 centimeters higher. So when I have the trinocular microscope in place, this is another reason why I didn't really explore this. I can't sit here like this. I have to sit here. So I've got to get a cushion, which I could do, and sit up, but then the angle from my hands is completely different. So it's not trivial for me to do that. Anyway, the idea is on the table. We do have some technology behind us here, but it's not ready to put it in place. You know, there's just not enough light here, the way we've got it set up so far. We would need one of those ring lights around the lens, which blasts the light of 10,000 suns onto the block in order to do that. Anyway, let's do a bit more work. What's the time here? We're still okay, are we? Nearly 9 o'clock. My God, I've done nothing. It's all your fault. Okay, same thing. Let's get a bit of this. We have a show and tell today. And it's prints, real prints from the old times. A set of 3, and we're going to look at them, and it's I'm going to need your help. The prints themselves I understand and I can chat about and I can look at them, but they are Kabuki. It's a Kabuki play print, and I myself know nothing about the Kabuki, and it looks really interesting. So what we'll do is, when it comes to show and tell time, we will throw out the theme first, and while we're looking at the prints, you guys can do your he, she, whatever. Sorry, the chat people can get doing some research on this. And in fact, yeah, well, let's start this now. I'll tell you the name of the Kabuki play that is involved in the prints we're going to look at. I'm not quite sure. Whatever, there may be different variations on this. The name is, I think, Kuruwa no Okido. I'm looking at the kanji that are on the face of the prints here, and it's Kuruwa Daimon are the three kanji, and I think it's pronounced Kuruwa no Okido. And the prints are by a guy called Hiro Nobu. So if we start the background research now here at 9 o'clock, by the time I get the prints in display here at that show and tell time, maybe we'll have some background info on the Kabuki play, because I myself know absolutely nothing about the Kabuki here. So let me type this in. This is maybe right or may not be right. It's going to be close. I think it's Kuruwa no, and again, Okido, but the kanji there are etane. That's the kanji for this. And I think it's pronounced Okido here. And the Kuruwa, the kanji for that one, this is good. I should do this more often. Get you guys to here. That's the other kanji. So let's put it together. Etane. That is the name of the play in kanji. So if you can beaver away in the background and find some stuff about this, because then we can have this too. I'll show you the prints, and you can tell me about the Kabuki play. Go for it. I mean, again, Okado, maybe. Just go. I don't know. I'm struggling with what this is. Okido, Okado. I don't know. I remember when I got these prints a while back, looking them up and trying to find some info, and I couldn't find anything at all. This was a while ago. This is, I don't know, 10 years or something ago. I could not find anything. No idea how many years, 5, 10, no idea. It's all just whatever. And chat has probably gone very quiet now while everybody is beavering away on Google. Go for it, guys. Thank you. I remember we did that once. It would be a couple of years ago. I had received a batch of 10 or 15 prints or something, and we flipped through them online. And we were trying to get him into the flea market, and I remember flipping through each one, and you guys, the chat people were doing image searches and stuff. I was outsourcing my homework, something I get really upset about when people write to me, Dave, I need 500 words on the influence of Japanese art on Western stuff. Can you help me with this? You didn't have to tell me it was 500 words, whatever. That actually happens, people actually do that. Whatever. I guess they figure give it a try, what can go wrong, There was one a while ago, and it came in. I haven't replied to this. I think it was a young man. I don't know. This was not an evil thing this guy did, and it was a normal request. And he and his instructor were in on this. The instructor had asked his students to do this thing, to search the internet, find people, and make this request of these people. And this was a thing in the school where all the students had to do this, guided by their instructors. And what they were doing, they may have been like, for example, getting a thesis ready or something. I don't even know what level this was. But they were instructed to go and find a mentor. And I got an email from, I think it was a young man, I said. And he wanted me to be his mentor for his school year. And he said, I forget the exact words, he said, it won't involve much. It's just like 2 or 3 hours a week, and we can do this by Zoom every Friday afternoon or some other time if it's convenient for you. And I read this with my jaw on the floor. It's only 2 or 3 hours a week. And he's specifying the time already. And And like, really? Really? I thought I had brass balls. No way, this guy has got me outshone. And I didn't reply. I should have replied, but I didn't want to reply because I really didn't want to sort of be a jerk about this. And I don't know, am I being a jerk? You know, we're people with experience and, you know, stuff like that, people like me, we're supposed to help the young students and help them get going and stuff like this. And I kind of think that I do this in my own way with the materials that we prepare and stuff. But it'll only take a couple of hours a week. I don't know. I suppose from their point of view, nothing ventured, nothing gained, you know, I don't know. Maybe that person's listening, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, maybe I come across like a pretentious jerk, I don't know. I thought it was a request that was really kind of too much. I'm sorry if you're here listening, you know. I really thought it was too much to ask, especially in an initial email. If we're friends and if we've been doing something for a couple of years and if we know each other and then you've got this big project and I can help you, and then yeah, let's sort of talk about this, you know. But I guess I shouldn't talk about that stuff. It just makes me sound like a selfish guy. I don't know. No idea. Stable. So it's Saturday morning. Are we getting any action across the street? Are the boys opening up over the ninja place? Any sign? Can we just take a peek for a minute here over there? Have they opened the doors yet? No idea. It's Saturday. Oh, they put the flags up. Were they up? I don't know. Saturday morning, our ninja crowd should be getting ready for action, you know. We're too deep again here, you know. I do not know what to do about this. This has now become a thing, you know. I saw that when I was reading the chat from the last stream. I saw that somebody partway along said, Dave, you're cutting too deep again, whatever, or something like that. I can't remember the exact words, and yeah, they're right. I still am doing this. This has become a thing, and I have got to try and shake this off, or it just doesn't work with these prints, you know. All these lines I've cut just right now, I have cut too deeply. There's no reason to go that far down in this kind of an environment when the lines are this close, when the print is this small. There's absolutely no reason to go that far down. In something like when there's going to be a Where can we find? Okay, something like this, whatever, where there's going to be a wide space between the two, the paper might sag. We do need a bit of depth here in these areas. But in the middle of all this stuff, there's no requirement, absolutely no requirement to go that far down. And I'm just getting visually confused because of the size and scale of these things. I haven't yet, I don't know, what's the word? I haven't yet internalized the idea that these things are so small. And you look through the scope here, and there it is, it's thin, and it looks big, and all that stuff, and so it looks big, so I'm carving deeply so that the paper won't sag, and I am wrong. And it takes longer to do this. There's more chance of the things breaking, way more chance of the knife breaking. The print will look fine. It won't affect the finished object, but it's certainly a waste of resources here, you know. I'm going to try and shake it off, but I don't know. It's one of these habits, things you just get into, and sometimes it's decided, like this one right now. I've cut, there's two lines that are a certain distance apart. And I've cut one side already a moment ago like this, and I'm going to cut the other side. So it makes sense for these two lines to make a V and pop out this thing. But because of the distance they are there, the V can't be too shallow. The V's got to go down a certain way. So this particular line will be a little bit deep. That's normal and natural. But over here, you can see what's going on. There's no way that that side of a V and this side of the V, I would have to excavate 6 miles down to bring that out as a single thing. So this is simply a cut shallow on this side, a cut shallow, and then you pull out the unneeded material in between. So you're not cutting a V in a case like this. And still, I have gone too far down. I have cut, I can't say twice as far down as I needed to, but I've cut more than I needed to. You know? But this one is going to go a little bit deeply, because when the two lines are this far apart, it makes sense to bring it out as a V, even if it means going down slightly deeper than is strictly necessary for avoiding blots. So there's no single rule over the surface of a piece of wood how far down the knife goes. Out she comes. So that's the most efficient way to do that one. Even though this is now quite deep, it just made sense to do it that way. Excuse me. Again, this is close to the border, so I'm going to just cut this border here. I know this is not the correct knife, but it's okay, just for safety here. We're going to cut this border. How's our time? Oh, we are there. We are there. We are there. We are there. Okay, 9:15. We have a show and tell today, as we mentioned. I hope there's been some research in the background here. If you haven't come up with anything, then we're going to have a very quick, short show and tell. I've tried to outsource the work today. If it's gone, who knows? Okay, let's shrink that a little bit. Okay, look, just what we've done now, today's work involved just not much. I'm sorry, I guess I talked too much again. All we got done today, literally all we got done was just a tiny bit around this area. I'm really sorry. A few curves, a few curves, a few curves. It's embarrassing how little work got done in the last 1 hour. Whatever, can't be helped. Things are what they are. Okay. What we're looking at today is I brought down a folder from upstairs. Anybody can read this? It's kamigata e. E is picture. We have ukiyo-e, and this is a genre in the middle of ukiyo-e called kamigata e. And kamigata is an expression, it's nothing to do with the art world. Kamigata is an expression relating to the area of Japan that we now would call the Kansai. It's Osaka, Kobe, Kyoto, Nara. Really Osaka, really. And I think maybe the technical definition of the kamigata is Osaka. And in our world, when we talk about kamigata e, we mean it's a very specific genre, Kabuki-related pictures that were created in Osaka. And the era we're talking about is what's known as the Bakumatsu. I know you know the expression bakufu. The old feudal government was called the bakufu, and matsu means the end. I know we are now almost getsumatsu. October, we're nearly the end of October, so it's getsumatsu, the end of the year. So bakumatsu is the end of the feudal era, and I don't know. When is it 1852 or something? I don't even know the date. It's sort of 1850s, 1860s. There was a transition. There was a semi-civil war. There was lots of stress. Do we keep the emperor? Do we throw away the emperor? Blah, 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 whatever. Through it all, life went on. And down in Kansai, down in Osaka, a genre of spectacular. This is a 3-up woodblock print. 1, 2, 3. You had to buy all 3 to get the full scene. And this is very specific. Well, so Koringham is asking, is there a specific style associated with Osaka prints? You were looking at it. They're smaller than the old Oban size prints that were common in Edo. They are very detailed. They came usually in sets of 2, of 3, of 5, 4. I don't know. I don't have any of those. I've got doubles, I've got triples, I've got quintuples. And they were spectacular. They are among the most detailed, gorgeous, drop-dead, incredibly made, incredibly printed woodblock prints that have ever been created in any culture, anywhere in the history of this whole thing. There's nothing like them in European culture. And this is well, actually, there will be a date on this one. 1860s to 1870s is about all I know. The Kabuki experts could tell us exactly when this play, and this is the one, did anybody come up with some information on this one? Did anybody find this? Nobody found anything, no links. Soka. So we're not going to be able to give chapter and verse on the story here. The outline of the story, let me zoom out a bit. Again, there's 3 protagonists here. They are on some kind of the stage in front of a temple or palace or something, and there's something happening here. We have the main guy, he's got a ladle, and he is pouring, I guess, water onto the ground. And as the water pours onto the ground, lettering appears on the ground. This lettering is upside down here. It actually reads this way, and it's archaic expression. I cannot just read this off to you. I don't know. So the action in this Kabuki play involves some spectacular scene where protagonists are involved, and he has done something with a ladle and some water or magic fluid or something, pouring on the ground, and some words are coming into being here. And if someone's got some information on this, I'd love to read this, because I don't have any idea what is going on. Let's look at the prints, because that part of it we can do. Oh, there's a tiger. I mean, this just goes on and on and on. You could probably spend a year figuring out what is going on with each one of these prints. I don't have a clue. It's a tiger or a man in a tiger suit, or he's wearing a stole. It goes around his neck. There's bits and pieces. Oh, is it a dragon? Looks like a tiger at the top, and it looks like a dragon at the bottom. I don't have any idea. The carving and printing, and what some of the things we'll be able to see, some we can't. Let's do the usual. You see the black areas here? They all have shomenzuri. There's an embossed effect to bring a gloss to this print. All the black areas are super shined up when you hold them at the correct angle in the light. You can see it. There's spectacular metals in the background which do the same thing. This would have been the gaudiest, blingest print you ever saw in your life. What looks like dark, gloomy parts here are actually metal pigments. The animal here, it's a dark oxidized, it's like an old temple bell. It would have been bright, shiny metal when this thing was made. All these areas here that look dark would have been shiny. Stuff like this dotted pattern in his kimono. It was silver, it's now oxidized black. This would have been the blingiest thing you had ever seen in your life. From a cynic's point of view, you know, no taste. Just keep pouring on the bling and away you go. It's like the cheapest jewelry you could buy or something like that. Staggeringly complex. Just staggeringly complex. They must have been incredible. There's a Kamigata museum down in Osaka. I think we've talked about this before. Every time I show the Kamigata prints, I probably mention this. There's a really nice little lady. She's got a family museum in Osaka, near Dotonbori. Very nice lady. We did an NHK show together, she and I. And as part of the NHK show, you know, I'm sitting there in her museum and she's explaining this stuff to me and I'm saying, yes, that's interesting. Some very nice friends. She's a really, really nice lady. But she keeps harping on one thing that I just, whatever. She says, and you know, they're beautiful, but you know, they cost the price of a bowl of noodles, like about 400 yen today. That's all it costs to buy this. And I'm like, lady, that's not actually correct. There were prints out in the market that may have been so cheap, but a print like this with 57,000 colors inside it and metal pigments 6 times over and all this embossing, this was not the price of a bowl of noodles. These were spectacular, expensive prints sold in sets for people who were crazy fans of these actors, for whom cost was no object. These were spectacular and very expensive prints. And I chatted with her, once we got off camera, I chatted with her and she said, no, the craftsmen were just so good, they could make these so cheaply. So I can't argue with her, but just whatever, I know. That's her view and that's my view. I don't know how much they cost. I can't give you a number, but there is no way a print like this could have been a cheap object. They were special, special objects. The people going to the Kabuki place to be fans of these guys were wealthy people. That's first, I got the wrong order. Go back to the first one. There's clearly a spring scene involved here. We have cherry blossoms, super embossed cherry blossoms. That's another feature of the Kamigata ukiyo-e prints from Osaka. They are on very, very thick, fluffy paper. The paper is super thick. Even so, everything comes through to the back. These are as deluxe as you can get. We have the names of all the actors and the roles. I believe the pink one is the actor's name, I believe, and the red one is the role he's playing. Or not. It could be the other way around. I don't know. I'm sorry. And all of this is well documented. People that know about Kabuki, this stuff is documented. We know who these 3 men are. We know what days of the week they were on the stage. The Kabuki documentation is very, very extensive. Just I myself don't know those facts. The ghost lettering that's coming into play, the water is pouring onto the ground, and the ghost lettering, and this would have been gold. This is bronze powder In Japanese, the material is called akakinpun, and it's powdered bronze. And when it was first printed, this would have been simply a bright bronzy color, like our this is a similar kind of color to bronze, like an original temple bell. So all over this print, you would be seeing shiny stuff like this. These are in very nice condition, and it's embarrassing for me. I looked up in my data folder here how much this cost me. I got it, let's see, just check here again. What year was it? 2009, it was a Yahoo auction, and it was 3,200 yen. And that doesn't happen very often. It certainly doesn't happen these days. 3,200 yen, and that's like 30 bucks. Then whatever, you win some, you lose some. So, and this one I scored. But also too, it's easy to say, wow, Dave got such a good deal. But remember, being able to get auction prints that cheaply is a huge investment in time. This doesn't happen every day, and you've got to be there, and you've got to be there, and you've got to be there again. Here's the designer's name. This is actually readable, by anybody who has seen woodblock prints. This is actually readable. This is the Hiro we see in Hiroshige. And this is the Nobu that we see in Harunobu. So this is Hironobu. And I don't know of any other work by him. I know nothing about this, but it's clearly readable. And I would guess, not knowing anything more about it, that maybe he was one of the apprentices of Hiroshige, but I don't know. Pick up part of the name from Hiroshige. But Hiroshige worked and had his studio in Tokyo, and this is clearly somebody working in Osaka. So I don't know. I don't know. How is it tied to a specific person? Their names are listed. We have their name. Their name is on here. I'm sorry, it's archaic script that I can't read. If I'd had more time to prepare, or if we were getting these into our collection, we can read. This is Ise. I don't know. I would just make a fool of myself. They're similar to modern writing, but they're just whatever. This is Nishi something. I don't know. But we know who they are. This is a known play. They know it was on the stage in 1862, February 16th, and it ran for 6 weeks. All that stuff is well documented. Oh, somebody's found it. Kantar, you've been searching. Uruwa no Okido. So the pronunciation, another pronunciation of this, which I didn't know, Uruwa no Okido, or for me, Daimon, whatever, Okido. And that's the print's name. Oh, it's a shop website, Yamada Shoten. That's a shop. Can we see? How much are they selling it for? Or is this a historical link? Oh, there it is. Look at this. That's actually it. There we are. Keisei Kuruwa no Okido. And we have the guys' names. Let's do this. Let's do this. And not that I can read them or anybody can read them. Let's put them in. Thank you. Who's this? Kantar. Eggs. This is what we were looking for. Unless somebody else has already posted this. I'm sorry. Kuruwa. And here we are. It says here, from the left, and then it's got the name. So from the left, that would be, where's the left-hand side print? This is from the left, what you're seeing there. And it's Ise Shin... Kuro. Shinkuro. I don't know how you pronounce that name. No idea. Shinkuro, Ise no Shinkuro. Oh, somebody's translated. Okay, good. Thank you. More eggs. There's your people. Good. Thank you very much. Yeah, about the Kabuki story then. Do we have more information? I can't read those links at the same time. What is happening in the story? Do we have information on this? Three men on what looks like a temple in Gawa, the platform in front of a temple, pouring liquid on the ground. pouring liquid on the ground that is becoming characters. I don't know. Whatever, I know once we're off camera, if anybody's got some information, they can let me know, email or whatever, and we'll talk about it in the next stream. But there we have it. Anyway, that's the idea. These are kamigata-e. That's what the genre is about. We've got quite a lot of them in our collection, and this isn't photographed in the collection yet, but it will be someday. I'm sorry. We are way, way, way behind that kind of work. Try to find the angle, the reflection angle. There it is. You know, it's all silver colored. The ones we see as silver here are nickel silver. They are not real real silver, because that goes black. Anything you see as silver here is nickel silver. In Japanese, it's called suzu no fun. The powder after shaving a bell, and they would have made a bell out of nickel silver, filed it into little tiny filings, and used those filings as part of making their print. You can see it. There's silver color there. Okay, there we are. Thank you very much. Okay, today's Saturday. I'll be back here 2 more days, Monday morning. We will just, another stream. We will be continuing the same thing on this, on the carving on this block. And then there'll be a 3-day break, during which I'll go to Ome, collect some more prints, finally get rid of all this bloody hair. And when you see me again on Thursday, I will be 10 pounds lighter. Let's have a look. Are the Ninja Boys up and running outside before we sign off? I see nothing. It's Saturday. They've got to be in business today. What's going on? No idea. No kago. It's not a koga. It's a kago. Kago. Well, they open at 10 o'clock, so perhaps they're just they're getting used to things now, or maybe they are there and just we can't see them. Okay, enough for now. Enough talk. I got to get to work. Thank you very much. I'll see you in 2 more days. Monday morning for me, Sunday evening for most of the rest of you. Here's our last walk by. Don't pee on the tripod, please. Oh, safe. Okay. All right. Bye for now. See you next time. Thank you.